You think you know what's in your food. You think those boxes, cans, and plastic-wrapped healthy choices are safe because they're sold in every grocery store. But what if you're wrong? What if the food you trust most is built in labs, stuffed with chemicals, fake colors, and even scraps you'd never touch if you saw them before they were processed? A 2023 environmental science and technology study found microplastics in instant rice and processed seafood at levels up to 3 times higher than unprocessed foods. California lists caramel coloring used in gravies and canned stews as a likely carcinogen, yet millions of cans are sold every year, and BPA, banned in many countries, still lines the cans in your pantry, quietly leaking into your meals. So ask yourself, how many bites have you taken that you'd spit out instantly if you knew how they were made? This is the Downturn Report.
But have you ever wondered about the meticulous...
Today, we reveal the secrets so horrifying of U.S. Foods you'd never eaten if you knew how they are made. Watch carefully because after this, your next meal may never look the same again. Number 1. Frozen processed meatballs. You might think that little frozen bag sitting in your freezer is your best friend on nights when you're too tired to cook, like an old neighbor who shows up with a warm casserole just when you need it most. But what if that friendly smile on the packaging hides a secret so ugly you wouldn't even let it near your dog's bowl? What if every bite you pop into your mouth is nothing but a cheap disguise? A trick played by factories that care more about cutting costs than feeding you something real. Take a hard look at what these so-called meatballs are made of. Calling it meat feels like calling a knockoff handbag luxury. Many are built from something politely labeled mechanically separated meat, but you can picture it better if you imagine animal bones being crushed through machines until every last scrap of tissue is squeezed out like the last bit of toothpaste in a tube. That sticky pink paste, let's be honest, it looks more like something scraped off a slaughterhouse floor than food for a family dinner is the heart of what you're eating. Into that paste goes soy protein isolates puffed up with chemicals to mimic muscle fibers, vegetable fillers pretending to be meat, and breadcrumbs loaded with starch to bulk it up and soak in flavoring. And here's where it gets even more twisted. Because this paste tastes like nothing, companies drown it in enough salt to make a doctor weep, splash in artificial seasonings that smell home-cooked only because a lab says so, and pump it full of preservatives meant to keep it looking fresh while it travels thousands of miles and waits for months in storage. Some brands don't even bother to hide their greed, cutting the actual meat content to less than half, replacing it with cheap fillers that chew like rubber but cost pennies. You can almost hear those factories laughing. Can't you? They know you trust that bag because it looks like the meatballs your grandma rolled by hand, but every bite you take is a bite of scraps glued together with chemicals, painted with fake flavor, and sold as comfort food. Comfort. That's a cruel joke, kind of like calling a used car certified luxury just because someone polished the hood. So maybe next time, instead of reaching for that bag of frozen lies, you consider real alternatives, the kind where you know what's in every bite, even the cheapest cuts of fresh beef from a trusted local butcher, rolled with your own hands, are better than swallowing this factory-made illusion. At least then, you know you're eating meat, not a chemical trick dressed up to look like dinner. Number 2. American cheese slices. It peels away from its plastic like silk slipping off a hanger, smooth, shiny, and ready to drape itself over your sandwich as if it were doing you a favor. It melts into that glossy orange puddle on a hot grilled cheese, a sight that feels comforting, almost nostalgic, like childhood summers at the kitchen table. But here's the gut punch: what you're holding isn't really cheese, not even close. In fact, by United States regulations, it can't legally be called cheese at all. Let that sink in for a second. What kind of cheese needs a legal loophole just to sit on your plate? The truth is blunt. It's a pasteurized processed cheese product, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a Frankenstein creation born in a factory, not a farmhouse. Real cheese requires enough natural dairy to meet strict standards, but this orange square doesn't even come close. Instead, imagine scraps of rejected cheese swept up from production lines, ground into mush with milk powder, whey protein, food starches, and a hit of emulsifying salts that hold the mess together like industrial glue. It's cooked, blended, reheated, and squeezed into perfect slices exactly the way cheap plastic is melted and molded. You can almost hear those machines hissing as they spit out slice after slice, each one identical, as if stamped from a toy factory assembly line, and that bright, cheery orange. Don't kid yourself into thinking it's the sign of quality dairy or careful aging. That color is painted on with either annatto, a plant-based dye, or far worse, Synthetic additives like yellow number 5 and yellow number 6, the very same dyes that have stirred health debates for years because of their link to hyperactivity in children and possible allergic reactions. Picture that for a moment the same colorings found in neon candy and cheap soda are the reason your grilled cheese looks so appetizing. What you end up with is not a slice of wholesome dairy, but a carefully engineered illusion. It's designed for flawless melting, long shelf life, and consistency so predictable it borders on creepy. It's not crafted for taste or nutrition, just for control of appearance. Texture and profit margins. You're not eating food born of tradition, you're eating a product born of marketing. So when you slap that smooth slice on your burger or stir it into your scrambled eggs, stop and think, are you feeding yourself cheese? Or just a dairy-flavored trick wrapped in shiny cellophane? Because let's be honest, that slice hasn't seen a cow in years. It was born under fluorescent lights in a factory, not under the sun on a farm. Number 3, boxed mac and cheese. That cheerful little box sitting in your pantry acts like an old friend, promising comfort on a hard day, whispering memories of childhood dinners where everything felt safe and simple. But here's the twist, sometimes the friend smiling at you is the one you should trust the least. Because inside that box is not comfort, it's a ticking time bomb wrapped in cardboard, waiting for you to pour it into a pot without a second thought. That neon orange powder everyone recognizes so easily, call it what it really is, a chemical costume. It's not cheese, not even remotely. It's a factory-born blend of artificial flavors, lab-made thickeners, and synthetic additives carefully engineered to fake what real dairy should taste like. And that glow you find so inviting, it's not a warm farmhouse glow. It's the same family of petroleum-based dyes, yellow number 5 and yellow number 6, used in road paint and industrial solvents. Picture this, the same stuff keeping traffic lines bright at night is now swirling in your dinner bowl. How did we ever agree to eat like this? And don't think it ends with fake color. To get that eerily smooth texture and an almost endless shelf life, manufacturers add sodium phosphate, a chemical also found in cleaning products, and silicon dioxide, the same compound used to keep industrial sand from clumping. If you think that sounds more like a hardware store inventory than a recipe, you're right. Mac and cheese may have started as comfort food, but now it's more like something cooked up by people in lab coats rather than chefs in kitchens. Worse still, the dairy content in many boxed versions is laughably small. What coats your pasta isn't rich. Creamy cheddar. It's a carefully rehearsed imitation, a cheap magic trick that looks the part until you know what's behind the curtain. That familiar neon color might stir up old childhood memories, but ask yourself, are those memories really worth swallowing chemicals that don't belong anywhere near your plate? And here's the part that should keep you awake a little longer than usual every time you scoop up a spoonful of that bright, fake comfort. You're not just eating pasta, you're handing your trust to the same companies that decided painting food with industrial dyes was perfectly fine. Maybe it's time to turn that box around, look at the ingredients, and ask yourself a harder question. If the color alone screams warning sign, why are we still pretending it's dinner number 4? Frozen breakfast sandwiches. It sits there in the freezer aisle like a promise you desperately want to believe in a warm, easy breakfast for hectic mornings. A soft bun hugging a fluffy egg and a juicy sausage patty that seems to whisper, "I've got you covered." But the truth, once you peel back that promise, is far less cozy. What you're heating up isn't breakfast, it's a factory-built survival project, designed not to feed you well, but to withstand months in a freezer and minutes in a microwave without falling apart. Take the so-called egg. That perfectly shaped yellow disc isn't a fresh egg cracked into a pan, it's a liquid egg blend, poured into molds like batter into a toy factory machine. Chemical emulsifiers and thickeners are added, not for your health, but to stop the egg from collapsing or turning rubbery after endless processing, freezing, and reheating. It's an egg built for endurance, not for taste, like a marathon runner forced to wear concrete shoes just to keep its shape. Then there's the sausage, the supposed heart of the sandwich. It's not seasoned with love, it's engineered with phosphate salts, artificial flavors, and binders carefully calibrated to trap moisture so it feels juicy no matter how many times it's frozen and thawed. But that juiciness comes with a warning label. According to data from the United States Department of Agriculture, a single frozen breakfast sandwich can carry anywhere from 700 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's almost half of what an adult should eat in an entire day, gone in just a few rushed bites. And while your taste buds might cheer for that salty hit, your heart certainly won't. The bun isn't innocent either. That soft, squishy texture you love, it often comes courtesy of modified starches, chemical dough conditioners, and in some cases azotocarbonamide, a substance banned in multiple European countries because of potential respiratory and health risks. But in the United States, it still sits quietly in your breakfast bun, smiling back at you after every microwave blast, as if daring you to care, and that's the real kicker. This isn't food, it's a formula, a machine-tested product built to outlast time, heat, and even your common sense. It's designed to look like comfort, to smell like breakfast, to trick you into believing you're eating something wholesome. But every bite carries more than just convenience. It carries a quiet erosion, a slow chipping away at health that piles up morning after morning. And one day, you might wonder, was it really worth trading a few saved minutes for years of your health ticking away, one sandwich at a time? Number 5, bagged pre-washed salad mixes. That crinkly plastic bag sits on the shelf like a badge of health, whispering promises of clean eating and fresh starts. It looks crisp, sounds healthy, and seems to shout, no work required, just open, toss, and feel good about yourself. But every time that bag rustles in your hands, you might want to ask, are you holding a healthy choice? Or are you cradling a silent trap disguised as wellness? The truth is far from the picture-perfect greens on the package. Those leaves aren't just rinsed in clear mountain water like you might imagine. They are typically soaked in a chlorine solution, the same chemical used to disinfect swimming pools. Sure, it kills bacteria, but it doesn't simply vanish afterward. Tiny chemical traces often cling to the leaves, and for older adults with sensitive digestive systems, some medical experts warn that this lingering residue can irritate the gut lining. It's a far cry from the wholesome image these companies want you to believe. Picture it, you wouldn't drink a cup of pool water, yet a version of it might be coating your salad, and that vibrant green color you trust so much. It's not nature's doing, it's science. The industry uses a process called modified atmosphere packaging, flushing the bag with nitrogen and lowering oxygen levels to slow wilting. It makes the leaves look lively and crisp, but that appearance is a carefully staged illusion. Nutritionally, those greens may already be days past their prime, their vitamins quietly fading away while the bag keeps up a plastic smile for the cameras. What's worse, the sealed bag doesn't just hold lettuce, it can also hold trouble. Research in food safety has shown that pathogens like Listeria monocytogenes can survive in these oxygen-reduced environments, sometimes thriving if the temperature chain slips even a little during storage or transport. One poorly refrigerated truck, one forgotten bag sitting too long on a grocery shelf, and that healthy choice turns into a silent threat hiding in your fridge. So maybe the next time you reach for that bag, you pause for a second, ask yourself if you're really buying fresh nutrition, or just a clever performance in a shiny package. Because sometimes, what looks alive is already half dead inside, and that's a gamble no one should have to take just to eat a salad. Number 6, flavored instant rice. It sits quietly in the pantry like a faithful servant, promising comfort in just minutes. Its bright label screaming flavors of butter, cheese, and herbs. But behind that friendly promise hides a truth that would make any real cook flinch. This isn't food born in a kitchen. It's a recipe designed on a laboratory spreadsheet, calculated for maximum shelf life. Not nourishment, the flavor packet, the so-called magic, is anything but real. That buttery note, pure chemical theater. That cheesy richness, not a shred of real dairy in sight. What you're tasting is sodium-heavy powders mixed with dehydrated oils and artificial flavorings built to trick your tongue while quietly cheating your body, and to keep those powders loose and free-flowing. They're laced with silicon dioxide, the same component used in sand and glass, to stop spoilage. TBHQ, a petroleum-based preservative, slips in, linking your dinner table closer to a gas station than to a farm. Even the rice itself has been stripped of its soul, pre-cooked, blasted with heat, and dehydrated. It's little more than an empty starch shell ready to soak up chemical flavors like a sponge, but offering nothing of its own. And then comes the real punch. A 2023 study in environmental science and technology found that instant rice can carry up to 13 milligrams of microplastics per 100 grams, 3 times the amount in traditional rice. Imagine that tiny plastic fragment swirling in your stomach with every bite. The same kind of waste now choking sea turtles, sliding silently into you. But maybe that's the irony we've signed up for. We've traded fire and pots for foil packets and plastic spoons. And somewhere along the way, the line between dinner and debris blurred. Perhaps one day, when people wonder how plastic ended up in every corner of the human body, They won't need to look at the ocean, they'll just need to open their pantry. Number 7. Canned chicken. It's sold as the hero of busy kitchens. The kind of staple every pantry should have. Just twist the lid, drain the liquid, and dinner practically makes itself. But that shiny little can sitting on the shelf isn't your friend. It's more like a Trojan horse, rolling quietly into your kitchen with a cargo you can't see until it's too late. Start with the can itself, because the danger begins before you even look at the chicken. Many canned chicken products in the United States are still lined with bisphenol A BPA, the synthetic compound designed to keep the metal from corroding. It might keep the can looking pretty, but studies have tied BPA to hormone disruption, reproductive harm, and even increased cancer risks. And switching to BPA-free doesn't guarantee safety either. A 2023 Consumer Reports investigation revealed that several popular brands still carried measurable levels of BPA or close chemical cousins with the same toxic punch. So when companies slap safe on the label, they're mostly betting you won't ask questions. And what about the chicken? Don't picture plump, freshly cooked cuts. What usually goes into these cans are lower grade scraps, pre-cooked, shredded, and then soaked in a brine so salty it tastes more like seawater than poultry. That salty bath isn't for flavor, it's for control, laced with preservatives and stabilizers to keep the texture uniform, even after sitting forgotten on a shelf for years. This isn't food that ages, it's food that waits, engineered to hold its shape long after real meat would have broken down. But here's the part that feels like the cruelest joke as those cans sit through months or years of storage, especially in fluctuating heat during transport. The BPA lining doesn't just stay put, it leaches slowly into the meat, turning every bite into a quiet chemical delivery system. You won't taste it, you won't smell it, but your body will notice, even if not right away. Hormone shifts, cellular damage, it's the kind of harm that sneaks up like a thief in the night, taking a little more from you with every bite. And maybe that's the real betrayal. We're told it's safe, convenient, and essential, but a can that can outlast the seasons should probably make us wonder if it's even close to food anymore. Perhaps, years from now, when doctors trace mysterious hormone imbalances back to daily habits, the real question won't be why canned chicken lasted so long on a shelf, it'll be how long we let it sit inside us. Number 8. Canned beef stew. It sits on the shelf like an old friend you can always count on, hearty, warm, and ready in minutes, promising the comfort of a slow-simmered Sunday meal without the weight. But comfort, as it turns out, can be one of the cruelest disguises. Because when you open that can, you're not just spooning up potatoes and carrots, you might be ladling out something far less comforting than you'd ever imagine. The beef forget tender cuts or high-grade meat. What's inside is the scraps no butcher wanted to sell: tough trimmings, sinew, and stringy bits stewed for hours not to bring out flavor, but to break down their rubbery texture until they pass for edible. The taste you think is wholesome doesn't come from the meat itself, it's manufactured. A salty gravy laced with monosodium glutamate and lab-made flavor boosters plays a cruel trick, convincing your tongue it's tasting something slow-cooked with care. And that deep, inviting brown color that makes you think of grandma's pot on the stove. It's a staged performance. Much of it comes from caramel coloring, often class 3 or class 4 types, which toxicology studies have linked to a chemical byproduct called 4-methylimidazole, a compound flagged by California as a likely carcinogen. That home-cooked hue might be painting more than just your stew. It could be painting a quiet target on your long-term health. The rest of the recipe isn't any kinder. Modified cornstarch, guar gum, and a lineup of preservatives stretch the stew's life for years, keeping it fresh long after the ingredients themselves have stopped being nutritious. These aren't added for you, they're added for the companies who prefer profits to perishability. And maybe that's the part that should make you pause a meal that can outlive the seasons probably has no business living inside you. We've learned to trust the smell, the look, the easy warmth of canned stew. But trust can be the easiest thing to abuse. One day, when people look back and wonder how something so simple could carry so much risk, they might not picture a doctor's office or a lab, they'll picture an open can, steaming on the table, and realize that was the real slow cooker slow, not for flavor, but for damage. Number 10. Frozen fish sticks. They look harmless, don't they? Golden, crisp, and smiling back at you from the box like a promise of an easy dinner the whole family will love. They're the kind of thing you toss in the oven without a second thought, just a few minutes, and comfort appears on your plate. But peel back that golden crust, and what you'll find is less about fish and more about the strange art of stretching scraps into something that only pretends to be food. The fish isn't a clean fillet cut fresh from the sea. Most frozen fish sticks are made from minced whitefish pollock, hake, or whatever cheap species happens to be plentiful that month, ground into a paste along with skin, bone fragments, and connective tissue. That paste is then washed repeatedly to bleach out its color, pressed into blocks, and cut into those neat rectangular shapes. What's left is a ghost of fish, stripped of natural oils, flavor, and much of its nutritional value. Then comes the coating flour pumped with refined starches and seasoned with salt, sugar, and flavor enhancers to hide the blandness of what's underneath. And don't forget the oil. Most frozen fish sticks are par-fried before packaging in industrial-grade oils, which, after repeated heating and freezing cycles, can generate trans fats and oxidation byproducts linked to inflammation and heart disease. A 2023 analysis by the Marine Policy Review even highlighted another quiet issue: frozen processed seafood, including fish sticks, was found to contain detectable levels of microplastics and persistent organic pollutants, tiny particles and chemical residues absorbed from ocean waters that cooking won't remove. So every crunchy bite may carry more than fish. It may carry the same invisible pollutants that poison the ecosystems these fish once swam in. But maybe the cruelest part isn't even in the science. It's in the illusion. We bite into those sticks believing we're feeding our families a piece of the ocean, when in reality, we're serving them something that's closer to a factory blueprint than a catch of the day. And if you really think about it, there's something unsettlingly poetic about a fish that once swam free, now pressed into identical sticks, stacked in boxes, stripped of their soul, and then, piece by piece, that same lifeless uniformity ends up inside us. Maybe the question isn't whether they're safe to eat. Maybe the real question is, at what point do we start tasting the sameness in ourselves? We've peeled back the shiny packaging, cracked open the cans, and torn through the plastic wraps to reveal the unsettling truth. So much of what we trust as food isn't food at all. It's chemistry dressed up as comfort, scraps molded into neat shapes, and toxins slipped in under the promise of convenience. Each bite we take feels small, harmless, even smart, but piece by piece, morning by morning, dinner by dinner, these hidden ingredients are quietly rewriting the story of our health. Think about it: how many of these products are sitting in your pantry or freezer right now, waiting for you to eat them without a second thought? How many of us have been trading real nourishment for artificial flavors and long shelf lives, thinking we were making good choices? And if companies are willing to gamble with our health just to keep profits high, what else are they not telling us? You deserve to know. You deserve honesty, not marketing tricks. And that's why we're here. If you want to keep uncovering these hidden dangers, if you want to protect your family with the truth big companies hope you'll never hear, then join us. Hit that subscribe button, stay with us, and share this with someone you care about, because the more we know, the harder it is for them to keep getting away with it.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated to our latest daily videos. Now feel free to check out other feature videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.